I'd like to talk about connecting squares and strips. We're just going to use 4, but you can use as many multiples of squares as you want. And this is how I do it. I build my squares, I connect my squares from right to left, and I build my strips from top to bottom. I'm not saying that that is the only way to do it. It's just what works for me. So that is how I'm going to show you. My anchor square is my top right square. That is the square that orients me to the entire project. When I warp and weave skipper pin loom squares or rectangles, I can do it anywhere. I could probably do it riding a horse. I can just do it anywhere. But when I connect my squares and my strips, I have to do it on a flat surface. Some pin loom artists have told me that they can do it up in the air like this. I really can't do it like that, but that's okay. If it works for some folks, that's great. So I leave my tie off tail on. That will be the last tail that I weave in when I am done with the whole project. So I'm going to put these 2 aside after I have organized things. Now, if I have color shadings, for example, on this table runner, those are all squares that came from the same ball of yarn. I will lay those out on a big flat surface to organize how I want those shadings to go. And then I will pin them together, and I will label which row is 1, 2, 3, and so on, to be very exact about connecting the squares and the strips. But for the demonstration today, we're going to use 2 white and 2 red. So this is my upper square. I've already woven in my tails, my tie-on knot tails, straight up the square. My tie-on knot tail is always, always, always in the lower left-hand corner, facing down toward me, the weaver. If by any chance you should do it like this, your tie-off tail is still in the upper right-hand corner, but your tie-on knot tail is now still in the lower left-hand corner, but now it's facing out to the left. It's not going to ruin the project, but as you connect the squares, you are going to notice it's a little wonky. And carefully you can undo it and resituate it. But that's how I do it. The tie-on knot tail is always in the lower left-hand corner, facing down toward me. Okay, I am going to turn these squares. And I use a metal darning needle. I don't use the weaving needle. I don't like using the plastic darning needle because the plastic can snag. The metal just slides right through. Okay, so I have them facing me. Tie-on knot tail now is facing away from me. There is a loop at the top here. And this is the anchor tail, the last one to be done. And I come through, and then I go back through that loop, and I want it to be snug, but I don't want it to be puckery. If for some reason the squares are misaligned, there's no amount of tugging or pulling or whatever. You're just going to have to carefully undo and realign. And it's just basically a zigzag weaving. and it just in and out. If you have double warped and woven, just make sure you catch both the loops, bumps, however you want to phrase it. Some pin loom weavers connect their squares and their strips through either crochet or knitting. I do not do either one. The knitting is done with needle knitting, and I do hoop and rake loom knitting, and the crocheting I should learn how to do because it is a very pretty effect. But I do just the zigzag weaving, and it is very sturdy. Now I've come down here. Here's that last loop, and here we have this loop. Now sometimes I have to adjust that to see which way they're laying. I want to connect this loop. I don't want to connect that loop. I want this loop. And I go back through here. And then I'm going to do it again. And then I flip it. And I just weave it straight up. Because I'm using red and white yarn, I don't want to weave the white into the red. Let's see. And I just keep going. Now, when I get up here, that is where I started, connected them. And there will be 2 or 3 little loops here, and I just slide my needle through them. And just pull it. And give a little tug. And then I snip. When you snip, do be sure you don't snip one of your warp or weaving threads, because then the square is lost. If you felt these, and these will probably be felted, any little nubs that you have, you can just, after the felting, you can just trim them down, but they're really okay. We'll save that. Now, I'm going to do opposite. And I have not woven in this tail, so I will do that now. Here is that loop that was made when you came back down after warping, you were weaving. And I want to kind of catch that in, so I just went over it. And pull that up. Again, I don't want to pucker. And again, I snip. Okay, now we are going to connect these 2 squares, and then we're going to connect this little strip. There. I'm going to reorient myself here. Okay. Yeah. And again, it's just a back and forth zigzag kind of motion, or pattern, not motion, pattern. Okay, now I'm down to this last loop, and sometimes I have to kind of straighten it out to see which way it's going, make sure I don't make a mistake there. So I've made sure that the loops are going the correct way for me to go through the correct loop. Just go through, and I go through once, and I like to go through a second time. You don't have to. And then again, I just flip it over, and I just weave up, straight up. And when you pull your yarn, don't pull it so everything's going to pucker. Again, I have those 2 or 3 loops when I connected them. I like to slide my needle through those. And then just snip. We'll save that. Okay. Now we have 2 strips. Our red square is the top anchor square. That's my anchor yarn, orients me to the project. I lay the strips, thread my needle. Okay, I want to make sure that I've got those loops. Yeah, they're there. Okay, I go through that loop. I don't want to go through that loop. I don't want to go through that loop. I want to go through that loop. And back here. Okay, now I'm going to come back through that loop again and go through that. When you're connecting, whether squares or strips, you never connect with what I call the warp thread, the straight thread. It's always just the bump. So see, I would not want to connect that. But I would do this. This is the bump, and I would go there. And I come back to that. And I come back. See, I don't connect that, and I don't connect that. I connect that bump, or loop, however you want to say. Again, I'm not connecting that, I'm not connecting that, I'm connecting this bump. Now, this is your tie-on knot tail. I come through this bump, and then I go through that one. And then I come through here, go there. When I started doing these, I pinned the centers to make them the corners, 4 corners align. But what I do now, I take these where I went around twice, and then I go to the next one where I went around when I came to the bottom, the top. That aligns the corners. And then there's a little loop here and there, kind of tucked down in there, but it's there. And then once again, I'm just whip stitching it. Okay, we're at the end. This is a tie on knot tail. Here's the tie on knot tail. Here's the top. Come through that loop, come through that loop, and I come through this loop, and I come through here. And then I go around again, and then flip it over, and just weave up. Again, don't pucker it. Now, when I get up to the top, I like to take my tail and just go right kind of through there, just to kind of securely anchor it. And then I snip it off. And there you have it. As I said, some pin loom weavers connect by knitting or crocheting. I just do the zigzag loop square. If I were going to connect more squares, I would work down, more strips, work across. And again, that's my anchor tail. And that's the last tail to be woven in when the project is completed, because this tail orients you to the project. Thanks for joining us today. We've had a lot of fun showing new Skipper pin loom ideas. Remember to check out our website, www.bluebutterflyoriginals.com, for availability and pricing and tutorial ideas about the Skipper pin looms. We've just had a lot of fun. With one little pin loom, you get 5 craft options with weaving, felting, needle felting, kind of cross stitch embroidery, and rug hooking. So remember, with Skipper pin looms, the sky is the limit.